All right, everybody, welcome back to the finals here at the third Nugget Bridge Invitational. My name is Dwee Hop. Joining me is the one, the only Scott Glaza. Scott, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. We excited for a big finals match here.
Right, and right now in the finals, we just watched Samuel996 advance, defeating the one, the only R inanimate. Uh, Now going to face off against Baz Anderson, who we've been following around for the previous two rounds as well. Baz, of course, as we've already said, he has bubbled Worlds last year at ninth place. Plans on coming out to the last chance qualifier. Probably a very great confidence boost to make it all the way to the finals right now, and also gonna get a chance to get back some of that money that he spent to fly out to Washington D.C. As both players right now are already guaranteed $250, and now they're playing for the $500 grand prize.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys probably had seasons they would have liked to have gone a little bit differently in the real life circuit. So good for both of them. They're proving that they had something left to give in this metagame. Both doing a great job making the finals of this tournament in spite of playing really difficult paths. And it'll be interesting to see which of them comes out on top here. And Baz's case, I'm sure he feels a lot better about the last chance qualifier. So he's going to be back playing again in 12 days or something. We're getting a team preview here, I guess. So time to focus. Gotta get the try-hard hats on.
All right now in team preview, Baz on top with Raichu, Amoonguss, Tyranitar, Aegislash, Azumarill, and Talonflame. And Sam off-screen with the Kangaskhan, Noivern, Azumarill, Ferrothorn, Heat Rotom, and Garchomp. Earlier we saw that was a substitute Garchomp. Not really a Pokemon we see that much anymore, although it was very, very dominant in 2012 and 2013.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Pokemon, I guess, like that in this matchup that maybe aren't the first Pokemon you think about as far as marquee VGC 2014 Pokemon, but who should be really key to this matchup. Ferrothorn should dominate this match. I think that this is very much going to be about knocking out Ferrothorn and preserving Ferrothorn's counters versus clearing the way for Ferrothorn to sleep. I think that's normally how it works in general. Just kind of one of those Pokemon where it's a closer, so if you can create ground for it, it's a big deal. I think Raichu and Baz's team is still fairly disruptive here. There's a lot of support moves on Samuel's side that really don't want to be encored, and Noivern has a couple. Azumarill's Belly Drum. Ferrothorn presumably has Leech Seed. Rotom may have Will-O-Wisp. Garchomp definitely a substitute. So there's a lot of non-attacking moves. I mean, even Kangaskhan's Fake Out can be encored. So there'll be a lot of targets for Raichu here. I would expect we'll see a decent bit of Amoonguss to protect those counters to Ferrothorn. Even though it can't Rage Putter Ferrothorn's attacks itself, it is able to use Rage Putter to protect Aegislash and Talonflame from Samuel's other Pokemon. So it'll be very important to two Pokemon in order to keep them alive long enough to do enough damage to Ferrothorn that he doesn't end up in a position at the end of the game where he just, is up against Ferrothorn and can't do enough damage to give himself a shot.
Right, and of course, Ferrothorn going to be able to bypass Raichu's Lightning Rod and be able to do a good amount of damage to Azumarill with Power Whip, as well as walling anything that Azumarill really can't throw at it. Of course, if Azumarill is able to get up that belly jump, it's still going to be pretty dangerous. Both players right now sending out their leads. Double Dragons out for Samuel. Garchomp and Noivern, of course, Noivern frisking, finding the Safety Goggles and the Citrus Berry on Raichu and Azumarill respectively, which are the leads for Baz, which have played off pretty well in previous rounds that we've seen with that fake out support from Raichu and the ability for Azumarill to set up belly drums.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation here. If he wants to go for the belly drum, he has the option of the fake out on Garchomp and the belly drum with Azumarill. It's very unlikely that Noivern can do enough damage to Azumarill to prevent it from getting the belly drum off. Though if Samuel's really daring, he could taunt it, risking just getting blown up by Play Rough for free. But still, he has the option of the setup here. We also see that the Double Dragon lead by Samuel is pretty telling. Neither of these Pokemon can Mega Evolve. Well, I guess Garchomp can, in quotation marks, Mega Evolve, but it's not going to Mega Evolve, which means that it's likely that Samuel's Kangaskhan is in the back, and with all the hype we gave it in the pregame, you would assume that Ferrothorn is the fourth Pokemon. So some useful information for Baz here. Perhaps he doesn't need to worry about that Rotom, which is a pretty good Pokemon in this matchup, actually, when you consider how important Aegislash and Talonflame are to Baz's ability to counter Ferrothorn.
Right, and Ferrothorn coming in would not be a bad idea right now. Raichu and Azumarill are not going to be able to do too much damage to it. As Noivern going to switch out, and there you go, in comes the Ferrothorn. As Raichu fires off the fake out, going to hit the Garchomp, going to take a little bit of rough skin damage. as you can see that Raichu taking a little bit of damage from that rough skin as Garchomp flinches, and the play rough coming out from Azumarill onto the Ferrothorn, not going to do too much damage, but at the same time getting at that attack drop, pretty big attack drop right there, as Ferrothorn's power moves will no longer be able to do that much damage, as the rough or Iron Barb is going to do a little bit of damage back to Azumarill, as Ferrothorn going to recover a little bit of health with that leftovers.
Yeah, so the play there, we see basically what we're expecting there. Baz does anticipate the taunt from Noivern rather than a switch or an attack there, and tries to get the play rough to catch it being cute there. But the safer play on Samuel's end, switching out to Ferrothorn there. He doesn't have to worry about Belly Drum too much there, because even if it had gone off, Ferrothorn can survive the boosted play rough and knock it out with a power whip. So relatively low danger there. But the way it happened is even better. He takes nearly as much damage from the Iron Barbs is dealt with the play rough there, so he trades pretty evenly. He gets Ferrothorn out safely, and now he's in a pretty good position. Not a whole lot for Raichu to try to encore here, and it's going to, I guess there really isn't much it can do in general right now, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see it withdrawn. Samuel's done a good job of getting himself into advantageous position again.
Right, Azumarill going to fire off an Aqua Jet, going to target down that Garchomp, going to do a little bit of damage. Of course, Rough Skin going to fire off back damage to Azumarill itself. And Raichu going to fire off a hidden power. Looks like it's going to be the Ice-type hidden power, as it is enough to get the knockout on Garchomp. Huge knockout to draw first blood against Sam, as the Gyro Ball going to go off onto Raichu, going to do a little bit of damage, not very effective, bringing Raichu down to about 50%. Of course, that attack drop from the play rough the turn before going to pay off huge dividends for Baz, as right now Baz takes a quick 4-3 lead over Sam.
Yeah, cute little play there. He gets the easy knockout on Garchomp. The Garchomp probably felt safe there, knowing that it was faster. He was threatening a bunch of damage with Earthquake. Figured Azumarill might be afraid of that Power Whip, but Baz is bold there. He leaves Azumarill in spite of the threat of the Power Whip. And the combination of Aqua Jet and Hidden Power, really nice way just to remove Garchomp quickly there. So a risky play there, since he could easily have lost a Pokemon in order to pick up that Garchomp knockout. But he ends up getting it at a very low cost there. He doesn't put any more damage in Ferrothorn. We've mentioned that's an important Pokemon in this matchup, so maybe a less important Pokemon is knocked out here. But still, it's hard to argue about relatively free KOs.
Right, and of course, Raichu getting a pretty big speed boost in between generations, gaining a little bit of extra speed, just enough to outspeed that Garchomp. Not sure if that was a misplay on Sam's side where he forgot, or simply the fact that he thought that Garchomp would be safe that turn. So really, that Gen 5 to Gen 6 boost in speed to Raichu paying off huge to get that knockout for Garchomp. As a Heat Rotom now comes in, going to be able to do a good amount of damage to Raichu with an Overheat, or at the same time even fire off a Will-O-Wisp onto Azumarill.
Yeah, not too surprising to see the Rotom come out here. Sort of. I think it was the best choice. I think that, like I mentioned before, there's two Pokemon on Baz's team that really effectively deal with Ferrothorn, and Rotom's good against both of them. So it makes a lot of sense to use Rotom in this matchup. However, we've seen all four of Samuel's Pokemon now, and it does not include Metagame Terror Kangaskhan. So he chooses to go without his Mega Pokemon here, which I think is really smart but unexpected.
Definitely. Really risky to play without a Mega, but sometimes, it's just something that you have to do. As right now, Heat Rotom going to switch out into the Noivern, of course, frisking again, revealing the exact same items that it revealed the first time. As right now, Ferrothorn is going to be encored into Gyro Ball as Azumarill gets off the free Belly Drum. That is huge. And now maximizing its attack. Going to activate its Citrus Berry, going to heal back to, I'd say, about 50%. And, of course, right now, Ferrothorn locked in a Gyro Ball, going to have to fire off a Gyro Ball onto Raichu. Good Pokemon to target if it did get to target anything at all. And Raichu barely hanging on, and Ferrothorn going to heal a bit from leftovers. So really, really good position right now for Baz.
Yeah, really great play there to get off the relatively... Actually, it's a completely free Belly Drum there. The danger of having used Gyro Ball in the previous turn is that Raichu could have encored it whenever it wanted to and opted to do so there, preventing the Power Whip. It's going to be several turns of Ferrothorn not being able to use that Power Whip to take out Azumarill now, which means it's a lot safer than you would expect it to be in this matchup. Noivern likely can't do efficient damage to it either, so now he's actually in an awkward spot where he's got the counter to Azumarill out, and it can't function as a counter without a switch. which he definitely doesn't want to do safely with that belly drum up there. It'd be difficult to actually make that play. So Baz has ended up in a pretty good position here. He really does need to get one more knockout here just to help him start getting more control, since if he could get a knockout and then encore one more time, the game would be pretty much locked up. We also haven't seen most of Baz's team because in a similar position to what Samuel was like in the game one of his semifinal match, Baz is doing an awful lot of work with just his leads here. So Samuel is in a tough position because with having seen so few Pokemon, it's really tough for him to plan the rest of his game. Like in a high-level match like this, you're not just trading Pokemon recklessly, right? Like you're trying to think about how you're going to close the game out. You're going to plan out 4 or 5 turns ahead, and you can't plan without information.
Right, and of course, whoever would have seen Azumarill and Raichu being 2 Pokemon that are just so great in leads that you don't even have to see the rest of the team. I never would have seen this coming from last year at all. Heat Rotom going to come in right now for the Ferrothorn as Noivern going to protect itself this turn. Azumarill going to follow suit and protect as well. Does not want to take any damage at all this turn. As the Ice-type Hidden Power again from Azumarill being fired off into the Protect. Free switch pretty much for Sam to get in the Heat Rotom.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was both sides kind of making their clear, safe plays there. Baz doesn't want to expose Azumarill to any unnecessary damage now, but he's got the belly drum up, so he just tries to chip down Noivern, likely expecting that Noivern has that Focus Sash. So, with the Hidden Power, if it doesn't have Focus Sash, it's a free knockout. If it does, it would have knocked him down to a single hit point there, made it much easier to remove. But still not a bad situation. He won't be able to encore it because Noivern is faster, but it still ends up in a pretty advantageous situation here. On Samuel's side, he gets the relatively free switch, knowing that Baz is likely to do exactly what he did, but he still has to find a way to get Ferrothorn out without losing a Pokemon. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rotom Protect and then a switch to Ferrothorn here, which does open up some danger because the next turn there's a threat from the Encore onto the Rotom slot, which Azumarill can then double target and try to pick out a knockup on. So this turn we might see another low action turn, but sooner or later, you've got to expose yourself here. And we still haven't seen, again, Baz's back Pokemon. So if he has anything that deals with it for Ferrothorn well at all, getting one more knockout would probably clinch the game for him.
Right. Even if Ferrothorn does decide to come in for that Noivern, of course, if I can predict anything in this game right now, a Play Rough will probably be headed towards that slot, and Ferrothorn probably cannot survive 2 Play Roughs at all. So as you can see right there, you called it. Ferrothorn going to come in right now. You called it again, the Heat Rotom protecting itself. Scott, you are like a wizard right now. And the Azumarill going to fire off the Aqua Jet onto the Heat Rotom into the Protect as the Hidden Power Ice going to land onto the Ferrothorn. Pretty safe switch right there. Good play right there from Sam to try to regain that momentum. But at the same time, as you said, now Raichu can threaten with that Encore.
Yeah, so now this is the point where things get complicated because if Rotom stays in, it's likely to get Encored. If it switches out, it's likely that Baz will anticipate that and play rough the slot here. The safest, in theory, play is probably actually just to leave Rotom in to let it get Encored and then switch it out next turn, giving Ferrothorn the chance to knock out the Azumarill here. But even that just puts him in a terrible position because then you've got Rotom as a dead slot. You've got Ferrothorn that's easy to exploit. If something like Talonflame were to come in the back there to replace the knockout at Azumarill, it'd be able to easily clean up there because you can't just Flare Blitz that slot safely. And you get another turn where if it switches, you can just Brave Bird for free. It's tough to see how, even though Samuel's surviving here, he's not really making progress toward trying to get in a position where he can recover the game. He's just kind of slowly getting whittled down here.
Right, and right now a really tough decision. I mean, that Ferrothorn needs to find a way to knock out that Azumarill as soon as possible. Heat Rotom right now going to switch out, does not want to stay in, does not want to eat a possible Aqua Jet or get Encored into Protect. As Noivern comes in, again going to frisk the same items, Citrus Berry and Safety Goggles, wondering if anything will ever come out. Thunderbolt right now going to come off onto Ferrothorn, trying to protect that Noivern switch possibly, and the Play Rough going to come out and hit that Ferrothorn, going to do a lot of damage. It actually gets a knockout, huge knockout from Azumarill right there, as the Iron Barb is going to do a lot of damage back to Azumarill.
Well, better yet, right? Why not just knock out the bigger threat? And now it's an even easier situation. He'll likely try and protect the Azumarill a little bit here. Maybe put a Protect up or whatever, try to get Raichu out, since its job is probably done this game. But wow, I was kind of, I guess either way, he kind of gets a mostly free knockout and ends up in an advantageous position. But I don't know if I shouldn't be surprised at the belly jump. I wasn't completely sure if he could get that knockout in Ferrothorn or not, but clearly he can. So nice way to remove the biggest threat. And I guess when you have Belly Drum, it doesn't matter how many Pokemon you have on your team that, in theory, can't deal with Ferrothorn because with +6 attack, everything counters everything, as it turns out.
Yeah, as long as you can hit it hard enough, it'll probably get knocked out soon enough. And really interesting information right there for both Baz and Sam to know that a +6 Belly Drum will do that much damage to that Ferrothorn. As Sam right now going to forfeit the match, doesn't really see a way out, of course. That Azumarill going to threaten that Aqua Jet, and of course that Raichu going to be able to threaten back with the Ice-type hidden power to that Noivern. Really backs to the wall, and Sam does not want to reveal any more possible information. I don't believe Sam fired off an attack with that Noivern or that Rotom. Did a lot of switching, so going to keep those movesets hidden as much as possible to try to keep some sort of advantage in Game 2 as he goes back to the drawing board right now. Baz in a pretty comfortable position with that just Azumarill and the Raichu leads. I mean, I've seen Baz play a couple matches now, and really, that's all he's really needed.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? When you win a game with 2 Pokemon. I mean, he likely would have had to use at least one of his back Pokemon had he actually had to close the game out. But the game was over there, right? Like, that was a pretty good forfeit there in the sense that there wasn't much point. He's probably trying to hide that Noivern item. Like I said, I was assuming it's Focus Sash, but we don't know for sure, and Baz not having that information might help him. We did see earlier in the semifinal match that the item on Rotom is Life Orb, which is, if Baz hasn't seen that, it's good not to give that information up. So smart just to let the game be over when it's over there. Don't give up any more information. In this case, I'm expecting that both of them know everything that's shown up on the stream. But if they haven't, I just think that's an important way to play a best-of-3 series, right? Like, it's all about information. You can, even though in theory you only take a game win or a game loss, you take the information you get from game 1 into the rest of the series. So giving up any more than you need to is a foolish decision, even if you think your opponent knows something.
I definitely agree with you there, Scott, and that's probably key to keep that Noivern item hidden. One of the interesting things about Sam's team that time did not decide to bring a Mega, and that probably hurt him a lot more than I think it helped him. Of course, one of the great things about Noivern, though, even though it did not get a Fire Fang attack, is the ability to frisk and scout for items, but at the same time, if you can't knock out the leads, you're just going to be frisking the exact same items all the time anyways. So I'd definitely be interested to see if Sam can bring Kangaskhan. Again, back to team preview, Baz on top with Raichu, Amoonguss, Tyranitar, Aegislash, Azumarill, and Talonflame. And off-screen, Sam with that Kangaskhan, Noivern, Azumarill, Ferrothorn, and Heat Rotom, and Garchomp. I mean, what else do you think that Sam can do to adjust to better deal with this Raichu Azumarill lead that's plagued him so much this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it, right? I mean, he has to bring Kangaskhan this time, in my opinion. I think that he got a little cute in the first game and didn't bring enough raw power. And Raichu is one of those Pokemon where it has lots of really awesome tricks, but it's still very, very frail. And the way you get around that is just, blast it a bit, Just getting a bit of damage on that is really all he needed to do, especially because we know it doesn't have the Focus Sash, right? So just one big hit and it's gone. And he just never really had the opportunity to do that in the first game, and I think that's the adjustment he needs to make, is get a little more power on the field. I think Noivern is a really attractive Pokemon to people in the first game of best-of-3 series, because that's when Frisk is the most useful, right? Like, every time you use Frisk, you're getting a bunch of information, which is cool, but I don't think it's really what he needed there.
Definitely agree with you there, as Baz going to lead off with Talonflame and Raichu, as Sam going to bring his Kangaskhan finally and lead Ferrothorn. One of the cool things about what I see Baz is doing is that, he's bringing things. So in the first game, what he does is he likes to lead Raichu and Azumarill, and then from there, people are going to think to themselves, I need to be able to beat Azumarill right off the bat. And of course, everything that can beat Azumarill is probably going to be countered by Talonflame. So that's actually a really smart play right there by Baz to bring Talonflame this round.
Yeah, it's a sign he understands his team really well, too. And we mentioned before, too, that Talonflame important in theory. Last game he didn't end up needing it. It's part of his way to deal with it for Ferrothorn there. So he shows it immediately, creates a bunch of pressure, and maybe that'll bait Samuel to making a move that perhaps that he shouldn't. I do think that he's got to be careful with it here, though, because even Garaball does chunks of damage without frail and fast Talonflame is. So he doesn't want to take any unnecessary damage here. But again, like you mentioned, it's so tough to play against the different combinations of Raichu and the sweepers on Baz's team that he could potentially lead.
Right, definitely agree with you there, Scott. As right now, Mega Kangaskhan going to make an appearance finally in this battle as it decides to Mega Evolve. Raichu going to fire off a Fake Out onto the Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan will not be able to fire off its own fake out. It doesn't even go for a fake out actually. As Talonflame going to go for the flare, but straight up against that Kangaskhan, going to do a massive amount of damage as it takes its own recoil damage back. Going to be interesting to see exactly what this Ferrothorn will do this turn, and going to fire off the power whip, going to hit the Raichu, going to do a good amount of damage. Ferrothorn still a pretty decent physical attacker. Actually gets the knockout on Raichu, and that is a huge knockout for Sam to knock out this Raichu, which is giving him so many problems in the previous battle. So huge knockout right there from that power up, so strong.
Yeah, that makes things much, much simpler for him in this series. Just getting rid of that means that there's a lot less that he has to worry about. He can play just normal Pokemon now. Raichu just completely changes how you have to play the game, so that helps things a lot. One interesting aspect of Raichu, too, we see there is that before, I guess even after Kangaskhan Mega Evolves, Raichu does have the faster Fake Out there, so if you're running a Protectless Kangaskhan, you have to get hit by the Fake Out. There's nothing you can do about it. So a nice way to get a bunch of free damage on it there. Likely, Baz is expecting that Ferrothorn would not stay in there with the threat of Flare Blitz just blowing it up. So a smart play on Samuel's in that way to attack with Ferrothorn instead, expecting that his opponent would anticipate him not making the dangerous play there. And I've heard, too, that that's sort of how Samuel got to this point. He's played a lot of good players. And sometimes when you're against good players, you've got to make those next-level moves, right, where you know that they're going to anticipate you making a certain move, so you make a different move instead, even if it seems crazy or stupid, because your opponents are going to play off of their expectations, so you can kind of manipulate that a little bit.
Right, and right now, Baz trying to figure out what his best course of action is. Going to send out that Tyranitar, going to change the weather into Sandstorm. Tyranitar, of course, Baz's only possible Mega. Wouldn't be surprised to see it Mega Evolve, and probably try to set up a Dragon Dance if it can. Of course, Ferrothorn going to be able to threaten with that Power Whip that's so powerful, but of course, Talonflame going to try to keep that Ferrothorn in check. Also going to be able to keep that Kangaskhan in check if Kangaskhan does try to set up as well. Not exactly sure which type of Kangaskhan Samuel's running, if it's a Hammer Arm variant or if it's a Power Up Punch variant.
Yeah, that's one thing that's going to be interesting here, is trying to figure that out, and then exactly how this turn is going to play out, because especially the Talonflame part of his turn, if it stays in, is really interesting. It has the option of just Brave Burning Kangaskhan to blow it up. It'll be tempting to Flare Blitz Ferrothorn instead. However, if Kangaskhan wants to anticipate that and get the Sucker Punch off on a Flare Blitz, Baz really can't afford to take that damage right now. So there's another play, much like the last turn, where it's going to be really important to guess what they're doing correctly. There's a lot of mind games in this match. And I think this is one situation where having the game 1 advantage is a huge deal, as you're going to win and lose some of these situations where you're trying to anticipate your opponent's moves. So having that leeway where you've got 2 games now to try to get inside your opponent's head is a big deal. And I think that's the strength of a team like Baz's, where sometimes you can get those cheap ones in game 1 with the lead like that Azumarill-Raichu combination we saw.
Right, and both these players right now, they've been playing for about 4 hours right now, so definitely a lot of mental strain on both these players, as they are currently in the finals here at the Nugget Bridge Invitational, playing off for $500. Baz, of course, already in the lead with Game 1, and just one more win, and he will be taking home the $500 cash prize. Sam, of course, going to try to prevent that from happening and take it home for himself, as Tyranitar going to Mega Evolve this turn, going to show off its beautiful new attack stat, as Talonflame going to fire off the Flare Blitz onto the Talonflame and get the easy knockout. But of course, so much recoil going to be done back to Talonflame because of the amount of damage it dealt, and of course the Life Orb, and of course the Iron Barbs. So bringing it all the way down into the red, as Kangaskhan going to go for the return onto the Talonflame and get that easy knockout. A lot more damage done by Talonflame this turn from Talonflame. As Tyranitar, easy Dragon Dance, got to get its groove on, going to start getting set up, and as we've seen before, that Tyranitar behind a Dragon Dance is actually a very scary threat.
Yeah, getting that Ferrothorn knockout there pretty much just put money in Baz's bank. It's hard to imagine a way Sam's going to crawl back from this one. Not only does Baz get that Dragon Dance off there, but he gets rid of Ferrothorn, the one Pokemon that you see on Sam's team that's a huge, huge problem for Tyranitar. The only other one he has that could really create some problems here is Garchomp, who would still be tricky to try to solve this one with, especially with Azumarill on the other end of the field here.
Right, we see Garchomp come in right now. Of course, Kangaskhan's still on the field. If there's a Kangaskhan, in my opinion, there's always a way, but that Azumarill threatening with that Aqua Jet right now onto that Kangaskhan. Going to be pretty close. Azumarill without a Bell Drum is not that scary. But as I've seen in the past, Baz is just not worried. He might even just try to set up belly drum right now if I was him.
Yeah, I would expect him to. I mean, I think he has that opportunity. It's likely that belly drum and earthquake won't knock him out. If not, I guess he doesn't really need to, right? Rock Slide will clean up Kangaskhan here if it stays in. There's the chance of it flinching guard chop. So you could belly drum and hope for that, or you could just put up the safer play rough here and not risk doing a bunch of damage to yourself.
Right, and we see right now the Mega Tyranitar outspeeding that Kangaskhan because of the Dragon Dance, firing off a Rock Slide onto the Garchomp and the Kangaskhan, getting the knockout on the Kangaskhan. Huge knockout right there as Garchomp going to try to set up a substitute, but of course Azumarill just going to be content with just firing off play roughs onto that Garchomp and making that substitute fade. So kind of a dead turn right there. Really bad turn actually for Sam as he pretty much just lost his Kangaskhan and not able to set up a substitute as it comes down to his last two Pokemon against Azumarill and Tyranitar. And the last Pokemon is going to be Rotom Heat, and that is just so disappointing to see because that Tyranitar behind the Dragon Dance will be able to threaten so easily.
Yeah, that's definitely bad news for Samuel here. I mean, really, the Tyranitar could probably just Rock Slide here. The Azumarill probably doesn't even need to risk the belly drum anymore. Just like fire some Aqua Jets off on Garchomp, get that easy chip damage, and it's likely the Tyranitar will clean up here. That return onto Talonflame, I think, was kind of the turn that ended this game here. Talonflame nearly knocked itself out before that even happened, so it's kind of a waste of Kangaskhan's very important turn.
Right, and there you see it, Tyranitar firing off the Rock Slide. This might be it. This might be Baz's chance to win $500 as the flinch on Garchomp, and the player off going to connect with that Garchomp and knock it out as Baz Anderson becomes our next Nugget Bridge Invitational third season champion. He is going to be taking home $500 in cash. Congrats again to Sam, though. I mean, he played really well this entire tournament, and he himself will be taking home $250. Really well played sets by both players.
Yeah, excellent series there. Baz just a little bit better at keeping control there, having the advantage with those setup moves. You always seem to have something set up. You know, in some games it was belly drum. Then later in the same game, often it was Dragon Dance. He just always had all that pressure from the setup moves that he was able to keep control there. Even this game, when he lost that Raichu that was facilitating so much to that setup, he was still able to stay so far ahead that he was just able to keep control. And I think one thing that was really impressive to note is how consistent Baz's team was. You'd think there's a lot of tricks there. You're probably going to lose some games when your tricks don't work so well. But he won at least 9 games in a row to finish the tournament. He hasn't lost a game since the first round of the tournament. It took him 3 games to close out Simon, but he beat Ray Rizzo, Mr. Bopper, Angel Miranda, and then Samuel in the finals here without dropping a game. So all the credit in the world to him. That was a heck of a run.
Right, definitely. Congrats again, Baz. I mean, he played so well with just those 2 leads. Took a lot of people by surprise, I guess, with Raichu and Azumarill. And now, I mean, he's $500 richer. Gonna probably go towards his trip to Washington, D.C. for the last chance qualifier. So he's definitely going to be a player to look out for in the last chance qualifier. Samuel996, of course, still strong showing, taking home $250, and definitely just going to probably give him a really good boost of confidence. I mean, doing so well in the tournament filled with so many great players to make it all the way to the finals itself. And I believe since both these players made it to the finals, that actually gets them automatic berths in the 4th Nugget Bridge Invitational.
Yeah, so hopefully another big chance for them to win some more money next year. Definitely 2 deserving competitors, and good luck to both of them. I guess the next season, probably in Samuel's case, in the LCQ for Baz. I think if I was Baz, I'd feel great about my odds in the LCQ there. I think outside of the World Championships, this is probably the most difficult roster of players you can expect to find in a tournament in the West. And coming out on top of it, especially with such a difficult path, you've got to feel like going into the LCQ there where if he plays the way he's capable of, he's probably more than capable of getting that world invite he missed out on the first time. Really impressive run by him, and I think he showed that he's got great chances in the LCQ.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a player that I'll be watching in the last chance qualifier. Samuel, of course, Samuel996, of course, giving him a big boost in probably NPA stock, if we're going to talk about the NPA at all. Shameless plug right there, but yeah.
We should plug that.
We should. I guess.
Why don't you do that?
The NPA is a team tournament that Nugget Bridge is going to be hosting really soon. There's going to be 16 teams, 16 managers who have just actually been recently selected. Again, congratulations to all the returning managers and all the new managers that me and Biosci had to select. Um, Big team tournament. I think it's going to take like 10 or 11 weeks. There's going to be a big draft after Worlds, so the sign-up thread's open. Go, everybody, go sign up. Not everybody's going to make it. It's a pretty prestigious tournament because, I mean, we're going to be having the best of the best compete on teams. And even if you don't make it, we're going to try to make it a really great spectator sport this year. Yeah, just follow along. I mean, you can probably expect to see Baz, Samuel996, all these great players in this Nugget Bridge Invitational in that team tournament as well. So look forward to that, guys.
Yeah, and I hope everyone enjoyed watching today. Congratulations again to all the players. If he's around, he can talk about it himself, but I know Justin Flynn is still participating in the Intel live stream competition thing, so
yeah, vote for him. Every day, vote for him.
That's right. Yeah, spam those Twitter feeds.
Hey, Justin.
Yes, I'm around.
Twitter. Yeah. So there's some Twitter competition thing right now. Like, what do I need to do to help you?
Oh, it's actually okay. It's a little complicated, and we've devised a secret method of like spamming really, really fast. But it takes a little bit of explaining. But thank you to those of you that have supported the cause, and I apologize to anyone's walls that have been obliterated with hashtag the Justin Flynn INTL. Please don't hate me. It is my choice, but it's not my choice. I'm in a contest, and they made me do it. They made me watch. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now. But thank you guys for inviting me, by the way, onto this Nugget Bridge Invitational. I really appreciate that, welcoming me into the community. You guys let me do, I think, the last 2 tournaments on your channel, and I've had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to work with all of you at Worlds in like what, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Oh, geez, yeah, we should probably mention that too, right?
Wait, Worlds is coming up?
So for those of you who won't be there, the World Championships are in 2 weeks. The stream for that will be pretty much all day Saturday, starting pretty early in the morning Eastern time, and then on the later part of the afternoon on Sunday, on the 16th and 17th of August. That's 2 weekends from now. The Twitch for that one is twitch.tv/Pokemon, so definitely follow and subscribe there. And hopefully you all enjoy the show.
Yeah, again, very special thanks to Justin for coming to help us out here. I mean, we really appreciate your work with us, Justin, and good luck to you in your competition. We'll be seeing you at Worlds. I'm excited. And
for sure. Thank you, Dwee. I guess I'm going to sneak back out of here. But thank you again. I want to say what's up to the chat. Thanks for watching. And I guess to explain the 888 thing that I think I've seen more of a question. That's like the biggest question in the chat. So 8 is Hachi in Japanese. The number, if you say it, like if you count in Japanese, which is like Ich, ni, san, shi, go, roku, nana, achi. Achi is 8. And so I guess that sounds like clapping, right? Is that what the explanation is?
I think it is.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but that's it. So 8s mean clapping. I just saw that question firing off in the chat like all day, so I thought I'd address it. There you go. Now you guys have learned a little something, huh, with Jay Flynn.
All right. I think that might be it from all of us here at Nugget Bridge. Again, special thanks to the Justin Flynn. Go follow him on Twitter. Go check out his stream at the Justin Flynn on Twitch or on Twitter. Follow Scott at NB Nostrum, right?
Yes.
NB Nostrum. Follow me at NB Dwee. That's NBDWEE. No big dweel. Don't follow NB Plaid. If you're following him, just unfollow him right now. Of course, you can always join us all at Nugget Bridge. Thank you again for tuning in, and we hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoy your guys'